AEW President Tony Khan hits back at WWE Hall of Famer Goldberg's comments suggesting he wouldn't join AEW because it's too cheesy. We have the ratings for AEW Collision this past Saturday on TNT, as well as AEW Rampage that followed it live on Saturday evening. The Rock, wow, WWE has disputed a report that The Rock was 3 hours late to his WrestleMania 14 main event match involving Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, and Seth Rollins. We got the ratings for Friday's edition of SmackDown, of course, night one of the WWE Draft. Script, his contract reportedly is set to expire in June, and he's going to become a free agent. Why did WWE book Patrick Mahomes as a heel Monday night on Raw? We'll let you know why, and also reasons for why AEW decided to run a Tony Khan injury angle last week. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, plenty of news stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling. Let's start off talking about Tony Khan's response to Bill Goldberg after Goldberg had some pretty choice words for AEW recently. Now, Tony Khan has slapped back at comments by WWE Hall of Famer Goldberg that AEW is too cheesy, revealing past conversations between the pair. Now, Goldberg had made the comments during an interview on 93.7 The Ticket when asked whether he'd join AEW. He confirmed that he had talked to Khan on a number of times throughout the past, but said that the product is too cheesy. Tony Khan addressed his relationship with Goldberg on Superstar Crossover, saying to host Josh Martinez that, quote, Bill wanted to work here. I met with Bill several times. Bill was looking to work here. It's funny because I had a bunch of really nice meetings with Bill and would have honestly been interested in doing something. I have a lot of respect for Bill. Khan would then turn to the too cheesy comments, going on to say, quote, I was surprised by that because that certainly wasn't what he said to me when he was talking to me about working here at some point, which I've always been open to, and I really like Bill. It's all about timing, and we're doing a lot of exciting things right now. Sting just finished up and went out on his own terms, doing things he liked and felt strongly about. I know Sting and Bill are good friends. I really like Bill and have respect for him. When I saw that, Bill has talked to me about working here, so I don't think he had any problem with any of that content, and anyone who saw Sting's send-off has had positive things to say. I'm not sure what that was about, but I do respect Bill and like him very much. I wish him the best and God bless him. He's a great name in wrestling. I love what we do in AEW and he's entitled to his opinions. Certainly, when I talk to him in person, several times in person and in Zoom and phone calls, we've had very nice conversations. He hasn't said that. It's good to know that's how he feels, and maybe that's an opinion he holds now, but certainly in our past conversations, he's always been a positive and nice guy. Of course, per the previous report, Goldberg is a free agent and has been since his WWE contract expired in early 2023. So what do you make of Tony Khan's comments that he's had numerous conversations with Bill Goldberg and Goldberg's never said that in their conversations? Is it a case of Goldberg being sour that a deal didn't come off, or is it Tony Khan trying to save face? Let me know your thoughts about that in the comments section below. Now let's talk about the ratings for AEW Collision this past Saturday. Now many people were curious to see what the numbers would be, of course, following a strong lead-in from the NBA playoff games. And AEW Collision on TNT this past Saturday, now it's actually airing at 8:23. It was preempted airing again due to the NBA playoff games, and it drew 621,000 viewers on TNT and also drew a 18-49 rating of a 0.21. Now Collision, as I mentioned, had the lead-in from the NBA playoff game on TNT immediately prior, which started at 5:56 p.m. and averaged 3.043 million viewers and a 1.00 18-49 rating. With that benefiting viewership, this was the highest total viewership and 18-49 for Collision since July 29. Because it started at 8:23 p.m, it's been counted as preempted airing for future calculations, and it was the same for Rampage as it was outside of its normal time slot. Now, in terms of a competition note, the Maple Leafs versus Bruins NHL playoff game on TBS starting at 8:09 p.m. averaged 1.138 million viewers and a 0.41 18-49 rating. UFC Fight Night on ESPN, mostly in prime time, averaged 660,000 viewers and a 0.22. In comparison versus last week's number of 461,000 viewers on TNT, this number is up 35% from the prior week. It's also up 34% from the trailing 4 weeks as well. In terms of the average from 2023, of course, the show hadn't debuted at that time, so we don't really have a comparison from last year. In terms of the 18-49 demographic, it's up 62% from last week's 0.13 rating. Now, in terms of the quarter-hour ratings, we can get to that in in just a second, but let's talk about AEW Rampage that followed that straight afterwards on TNT. It's not as good numbers, certainly for AEW Rampage airing outside of its normal time slot. Of course, usually it airs on Friday nights. This week's episode versus last week's episode was not good for AEW Rampage. Rampage generated 293,000 viewers on TNT and a 0.09 rating in the 18 to 49 demographic. Now, in terms of comparisons, last week it's down 26% from last week's 397,000. In terms of the 18 to 49 demographic, it's down 31% from last week's 0.13. Now, in terms of the quarter-hour ratings, these come courtesy of WrestleNomics, so shout out to them and be sure to subscribe to their Patreon service. As you can see, as was expected, a really strong lead-in from the NBA playoffs there, with the first quarter drawing 1.35 million viewers, significantly above the usual first quarter. And then it was kind of, I guess, what you would expect usually for AEW programming at the moment, with each quarter declining in terms of viewership and in terms of the key demographic mostly as well. The second quarter had 850,000 viewers, and by the third quarter it was down to 676,000 viewers, which is close, not totally close, but close to the average recently. It was about actually into the 9:15 to 9:30 hour. That's quarter hour 4, or 5, that you had it going back to the average of around 500,000 viewers. So what do you make of those quarter hour numbers? What do you make of the ratings for AEW Collision and AEW Rampage? Let me know your thoughts, as always, in the comments section below. Now, this is a really interesting story about The Rock, and a major story's come out about him today, about his lateness and his behavior on set, and some of it's kind of spilt over to WWE. So after a report in The Wrap detailing what was described as chronic tardiness on the part of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson on the set of Red One, it also included allegations that Johnson was 3 hours late to WrestleMania 40. Now, WWE was quick to come to the defense of the People's Champion and TKO board member. Quote, Dwayne was not only on time for WrestleMania, he was hours early to help with rehearsal and a pleasure to work with throughout his entire run. Chris Lettingale, WWE's head of global communications and talent relations, had said, not only The Wrap, but also several other outlets, including Wrestling Inc., Fightful, and others. Now, Wrestling Inc. is also reporting that sources inside WWE have reiterated that Johnson had no problems with lateness or issues of any kind during his recent program with new undisputed WWE champion Cody Rhodes. Now, Johnson was late to an appearance for fans at WWE World during WrestleMania weekend, but that was attributed to other WWE commitments, as well as Philadelphia traffic as he made his way to the venue. That all seemed to be smooth over for the most part, as The Rock leaned into his final boss heel persona in addressing attendees. He said, quote, you're booing because The Rock was a little late. That's why you're booing, he asked the crowd. The Rock was watching YouTube, watching Jalen Hurts lose in the playoffs again. Now, The Wrap report cited a slew of production issues, including Johnson's tardiness and lack of professionalism on set, leading to a final budget over $250 million for the film. An Amazon MGM spokesperson denied the allegations toward Johnson, saying Dwayne Johnson and $7 have been incredible partners on Red One. Any reporting that implies we got to this point with him showing up 7-8 hours late to set is both ridiculous and false. Now, the full article for this is going to be included in the video description below, so be sure to check that out and let me know your thoughts on that. Do you believe it, or is it just another Hollywood hit piece? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Now, let's talk about the ratings for Friday's edition of SmackDown on Fox. As I mentioned, it was WWE Draft Night 1. Even with the numbers dipping a tad in the fallout of WrestleMania 40, SmackDown has continued pulling strong ratings on Friday night, even in the face of the NBA and NHL playoffs. This past Friday, however, presented a whole new challenge, as the SmackDown's presentation of the WWE Draft went up against the NBA playoffs, but also the second and third rounds of the NFL Draft. And unfortunately, the WWE Draft wasn't able to go neck and neck with its counterparts. WrestleNomics Programming Insider and Spoiler TV reports that SmackDown's edition of the Draft drew 2.143 million viewers and a 0.58 in the coveted 18 to 49 demographic. Both total viewership and the key demo were down around the same amount from the previous week, dropping 8% from 2.333 million viewers and a 0.63. According to the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Friday SmackDown represented not just the lowest numbers the Blue brand has done all year, but also the biggest year-over-year decline, down 13.3% in total viewership and 13.4% in 18 to 49. The stiff competition played a part in SmackDown's lower than usual numbers, with the NFL draft drawing a combined 5.050 million total viewers and a 1.37 in the 18 to 49 between broadcast on ABC, ESPN, and the NFL Network. The NBA playoffs also left a dent, with the Milwaukee Bucks vs Indiana Pacers game, which concluded half an hour after SmackDown began, drawing 2.169 million and a 0.73, while the Los Angeles Clippers vs Dallas Mavericks, which went head-to-head with the rest of SmackDown, drew 3.342 million and a 1.17. In one bit of positive news for WWE SmackDown, it was still number 2 for the night in the 1849 on network television, only behind the ABC's broadcast of the NFL Draft. Now, in terms of the quarter-hour ratings, these come courtesy once again of WrestleNomics. Shout out to them, and be sure to subscribe to their Patreon service. As you can see, most of the quarter hours were below the average in terms of total viewership and also the key demographic. Now, a bit of an update when it comes to NXT and NXT star Scripps. You may know him as Reggie or Reginald, and his contract is set to expire and he's going to become a free agent. Fightful Select is reporting they have learned that Scripps, formerly known as Reggie's, contract is set to expire at the beginning of June. He has been informed that the deal will be expiring and he will be a free agent. Fightful Sean Ross Sapp has learned that Scripps, who will likely be going as Sidney Akeem, plans to continue wrestling and is expected his deal not to be renewed. So Scripps is going to be departing WWE seemingly at the beginning of June. Now, last night on Raw, we saw Patrick Mahomes make a surprise appearance, and many were wondering, with the show being in Kansas City, why he was booked as a heel. Now, despite being in Kansas, Mahomes got involved in Logan Paul's attack on Jey Uso, with Finn Balor and JD McDonough of the Judgment Day providing a very physical assistant. During the attack, Paul approached Mahomes in the front row and took the quarterback's Super Bowl rings, using them as a substitute for his more familiar brass knuckles. Uso was able to dodge the attack, however, with JD McDonough absorbing the blow on his Klingon-like head, as Michael Cole described it. Details have now emerged as to why Mahomes would be presented as the bad guy in his hometown, with Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio explaining, quote, "There's actually a reason for all of this, which I'll get to in a second. But when the show started, it was Patrick Mahomes, IShowSpeed, and Logan Paul coming to the building together. Mahomes is the biggest star in that city as a babyface, and he's coming out with heels. Some people were bringing up that makes no sense because Patrick Mahomes was a total heel on the show, even though he's a babyface. The reason behind it was because WWE did not book this segment. It was a sponsored segment. That's why Patrick Mahomes was there, because Patrick Mahomes is part of the Prime energy drink that Logan Paul is also part of. So they basically sponsored the segment, and they wanted Logan Paul and Patrick Mahomes to work together in an angle. Everyone's going, why would Patrick Mahomes be booked as a heel in Kansas City? WWE is so incredibly stupid. But in fact, it was not WWE that was stupid. It was something that the sponsors basically put together. So essentially, it's because Prime wanted it to be that way and not WWE. And finally, a bit of an update on Tony Khan, and just really more details as to why AEW decided to go with an injury angle on the AEW president last week. Now, Dave Meltzer has revealed the reason for the timing in the comments made in the Wrestling Observer Radio. He said, quote, "Part of the reason, for sure, the angle that week was so he could go on the NFL draft with a neck brace and it be a publicity stunt for AEW. So if you wondered why last week they decided to do it, it's because they knew they could get Tony Khan on television in a neck brace." But there you go, guys. This is the latest pro wrestling news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak for you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right-hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.